Hello, everybody. We're back. Another Saturday, number 96. Develop Your Mindset podcast. We're back. Um, yeah, as usual, a lot of stuff we go through, and we have a lot of beautiful things to talk about. Life experience, also stuff that we've experienced first time, and I'm sure we all go same kind of stuff overall in life, and we all kind of like try to make sense out of a lot of things that beyond us. And we're gonna talk about a little bit about those things. Me and Luis here. We're gonna give our 2 cents, and hopefully we'll learn something from each other. And yeah, this is. You guys remember this is a jewelry company that we have, and we take the experience from the stuff that happens here in the company, and we talk about it. So feel free to visit the website. We'll have the link down below, and tell us what you think. And it's at kabarti.com. And yes, so before I start, Louis is gonna say hello.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast, another episode. As always, it's good to be here. And yeah, I mean, we're going to be sharing a lot of good content with you guys as usual. And hopefully, you're able to make it through the end. And yeah, without further ado, we can go ahead and get started.
All right, so yeah, this week been really hectic and crazy. Like work is one story, working long hours and all that. But another thing is like we went through some crazy adventure. Let's say one of that adventure was one of our co-worker that she got, she passed away, and so we had to go and do the funeral thing, and that kind of like took me to another another place where you ask stuff to yourself, and you kind of like try to figure out what the fuck am I doing? Like, am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? Is it where I want to be? All kinds of stuff like that. So I'm gonna start with the first question that I put here, which is why life has to be so complicated and at the same time so simple. Which is this I thought about these words during the funeral, and looking around, seeing what's going on and how people are handling and how people are breaking down and everything. So um, you know you it kind of like reminds you of like so many things are important, right? So like we go stressed about it, we go crazy about it, we just care about it so much, but end of the day, it could be so simple, so like not crazy like that, like taking it so um, hard where you complicate everything by doing that, and you have a hard time making sense out of shit because like end of the day your day ends and you're confused and you're worried, uh, but same time it's one decision away from not being that, and when you don't allow yourself to take decisions, you get stuck, and you get stuck really hard, and you just can't pass through that kind of mindset, and you have no choice, but you got to come to a realization. Like, I'm kind of like talking to myself because I go through this all the time, and when I talk to my friends, when I talk to people, they kind of say the same thing. Also, everybody's brain works about the same. If you are in the right place, yeah, you just have to like, sometimes give it up some things, sometimes you have to go take it, and you just have to make that leap decision, hopefully the right one, and just be, you know hopefully if you guys are going through some kind of heartache like that, you can probably this maybe probably will help you to make that kind of decision. Like, why don't you make it right now, right this second? Just go through it, and it's you got to have those breakthroughs. You can't have breakdowns and get stuck there. So you got to have the breakthroughs, and go to the other side, and you're gonna learn a lot because you know I was listening to, what was it, Dantena or somebody, he was saying something that it makes so much sense. Like, Somebody asked him question. He goes, why to do this is hard, difficult, and I can't make decision. He goes like, while you're having hard time making decision, I make decision and I go for it and I learn from my mistakes and I just make it better and better, because there's nothing like out there that it's gonna work in a second, instantaneously. It's not like, it's just, um, you're just gonna go through it and do the best that you can, and then you're gonna learn from it and you're gonna do better. So basically, life doesn't have to be so hard, really, seriously. Like, it could be so simple. um, and this it's one decision away. Make things right, make things amazing. And this is how I see this. Well, I had this experience, and then this is why I explain it this way. There's got to be other things that everybody goes through, and then there's all kinds of different explanations. It's not the same only. I'm sure Luis is here, he's got different explanations for it, and we're gonna hear it, like, and then maybe I come back and add to it.
Well, yeah. So as far as like life being complicated or simple, I mean, sure. I mean, like there's a lot of events that can happen in your life that can either complicate it or simplify it, and I think that's really depending on what actions you take day by day. But uh, really, life. I mean, from my perspective, I see it more as and what I tend to focus on more is living a meaningful life. A life that really means and matters something to you. Something that you're proud of and that you're amazing. You feel amazing to be living the life that you're living. And sure, I mean, getting to that point sometimes will require hard work, struggle, persistence, and resilience. To a lot of pain, a lot of adversities that may
Right.
come up, and so. At the same time, it could be that complicated, but at the same time, it could be quite enjoyable if you're pursuing something that you really love, that you're passionate about. All those adversities will just be something that will help you grow stronger and more, you know, a better version of yourself. So, um, I think, and then there's times in your life when things will simplify themselves. Where you're not exactly doing anything that's crazy, and that's more like on the recovery side, more on the healing side, more on the tapping into more of a human side, where you're not necessarily you know pounding yourself and like going hard after a goal, but it's more just about enjoying the relationships that you have in your life, and enjoying being in the moment and stuff like that. So that's when life can get a little bit more simpler. And so I think it really comes down to priority as well. Like what are you what are you prioritizing right now in your life? Uh, Maybe right now you're very purpose driven, you're really focused, you want to accomplish your goals. So then in that case, your life might be more on the complicated side than the simpler side, just because you're focused more on putting in hard work, really making stuff happen every single day. You want to be taking action, you want to be progressing every single day, as opposed to resting and stuff like that. You might still rest, but not as much as with the work that you put in. And so think it really comes down to priorities. Decide what you want to focus on. Maybe you want to simplify your life. Maybe you want to cool down, relax, um, and you can do that as well. It's really up to you what you find meaningful for your own life.
What if I don't want to cool down, man? I I have a big engine and I want to push the gas. Yeah, it's a decision away, of course, and you kind of have to. I don't know. I hear a lot of things like we talk. I talk about this all the time with you too. Like we always say, write things down and have journal and have wish boards, have all kinds of affirmations, everything for you to kind of like to affirm yourself, to tell yourself what are you gonna do, how do you like, what do you want out of life, what do you want to get to. And there's I think those things kind of like helps you to simplify instead of getting all jumbled up in your brain, getting all confused about stuff. So those are some of the things that can help you to definitely um, know what do you want to do, how do you want to get there. I think that's pretty much it with that. Next one, I'm going to go to everybody has to go sometime through stress barrier to become successful. So, well, I mean, I hope you want to be successful in something. I definitely want to be successful in something that I'm doing, and I'm doing a bunch of things, and I want to be successful in a bunch of things because that's how I am, and everybody's different. So, um, definitely there are all kinds of barriers that we have to go through today. Barrier is about stress barrier, and every time you're starting something new, you are under stress because you don't understand how you're going to do it better. You're putting so many hours, so many different ways, and might not work, and you get stressed, you get upset, angry, and you want to say something you can't say, you want to do something you don't know how to do, and all kinds of stuff that causes a lot of stress. So there's a time where we all go through stress, and that's a stress barrier. We have to go break through that barrier to be able to do it. And that stress time is the time where you gather yourself, you learn how to do it, you start, and then you break through that barrier and you get to that success. And obviously you have to know what is that you want to accomplish, and then again we come back to writing things down, knowing what it is, and doing your research, and then pinpointing exactly what are you going through after, and you're going to go through that. And pretty much again, like everybody kind of goes through this kind of stresses, whether if it's a home problem, or it's a work problem, it's something out of your hand where you don't know what is going on. You're gonna probably need a lot of help to hire somebody to come help you out to to solve that situation, and then become successful. So there's that all that stress. So remember, you guys, like you have to go through the stress barrier to get to that other side where you can actually make something work, something, uh, yeah. And pretty much this is what I wanted to say. I definitely am, no matter how much I tell you guys everything that I'm saying, I'm definitely get stuck here and there, and I know how to get out of it. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than I like, and I get under stress, and I understand that I need to go through the stress to break through, to have breakthroughs, and that we're calling it stress uh, um, barriers that we're going to break and go through it. And yes, last week I was talking about having a lot of barriers where those are like they're like walls. You have to go through them. You have to break it. These are what is the word? It's in your mind, right? It's virtual walls, of course, and you have to break through. And this is another one this week that it's important to know, to understand that this is how your mind works, and you gonna go through this. There is no other way around it. And you gonna accept this, and then just be patient, just patiently working on it, not be patient and sit on the sofa, but patiently working. And hopefully any like very soon you're going to go through this and be successful on whatever you're working on, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, so everybody has to go through stress sometimes. So yes, I mean everybody will face some level of stress at some point, whether you want it or not. So it's best to really prepare yourself for it when it does arrive. And So the first thing I would say with stress is to identify the source of the stress. So identify like where the stress is coming from. Because now some stress is good to have because it'll help you push yourself and, like you said, of course, break through it. But some other stress is not as healthy, and you shouldn't even be having that stress to begin with. So you have to eliminate that type of stress as soon as possible. And then there's the other stress with which you can convert into um, energy that you can use towards whatever your goals are. And so, you'll have that little boost. So let's just say that maybe the source of the stress is maybe perhaps you're worried about something. So something is concerning you, and so you're thinking about it. And the more you think about it, the more stress you're getting. That's not a very healthy stress right there, because it's coming from worry. It's coming from something that you're not even sure if it's going to happen or not, and so you're dwelling on thoughts. You're dwelling. Most likely, if it's causing stress, it's probably a negative thought, and so dwelling on negative thoughts is not necessarily a good thing. So. In that case, you obviously want to address whatever the worry is, and see if there's something you can do about it. How much control over it do you have, and go and take action and do whatever you have to do as far as whatever control you have, and then the rest, just let it go. However, if the source of the stress is maybe because you're working a lot, but that work is actually meaningful work that's pushing you in the right direction, and you putting in all these hours is actually going to pay off in some way in the future, then that's good stress. And so, in that sense, yes, you can use that stress that you're feeling, that energy, and channel it to use it as motivation for you to perform even at stronger levels. But of course, you have to recognize what type of stress this is, and so use that as a way to really give yourself an extra advantage to push yourself even harder when it actually matters. So definitely identify what kind of stress you're going through, and yes, that stress can lead to success, but I would say, I mean, eventually in the long run, obviously, if you keep on taking action, eventually you'll attain some sort of success. But obviously, you have to stay in the journey long enough to do that, because sometimes you will be going through some stress, and you will put in the hours to work hard, and in the end you might still fail. Things might still go wrong. Your hard work may just not produce what it was meant to. You might not get the result, and so that in of itself can be pretty frustrating and even create even more stress. So you have to be ready for that as well. Don't expect just because you're going through that you're going to be successful right after it's done, because that's not a guarantee. No success is guaranteed. This is pretty much something that you just have to work at, and that's why they say enjoy the journey more than you enjoy the destination itself.
Yeah. Like I was thinking while you was talking, like everything you said is great. There's one thing though, some stressful situations are out of your hands, some are you cause it. And then how do you see it? Like how do you get out of it? Because kind of like you were explaining this at one point. How do you deal with that situation? You deal it the same way? Because obviously the viewer, if it's going through something that she caused the situation, or it's out of their hand, it just happened, and then what are you gonna do? You're driving a car, somebody came and hit you, like that kind of, it's out of your hand. How do you deal? Do you deal the same way, or you deal differently
Well, you
through that
control.
stress?
Well, you control what you can as far as that goes. I mean, obviously, if something happened to you, um, you can control your thoughts. You can control your perception of the situation, and obviously, do whatever you can. Whatever you feel that's right for you. But other than that, I mean, there's things that you just can't change. You can't go back in time. It's if somebody's not happy with you, you made somebody mad or something. You can't control that either. You can't control the other person if they're angry or not. If you feel like you need to apologize, apologize. But if you feel like you just don't need to apologize, then don't apologize. Do whatever you think is right for you. Take action, obviously, but other than that, just let it go.
That was really good. I think that kind of gives a more whole to your explanation, because I feel like a lot of people, when you tell them this stuff, that kind of question usually comes back to you.
Yeah.
But that was really good. So next one, we're gonna go to learn and be careful before you speak or hear something, and you're listening. Listen something. Listen to vibrations and movements. All right. So obviously, when you're in a crowd, this is very, very valid. When you're sitting by yourself and talking to yourself, then maybe it's a little bit not so valid. But everything has its own place. Everything happens for a reason, because you are here, and then this is occurs. You are there, that occurs, and then you gotta. That's why life is a little bit difficult. Life is a little bit hard when it comes to that kind of movements. But at the same time, believe me, it's 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 simple if you simplify it enough. So here, basically, the moral story is, um, when you don't need to open your mouth, don't open your mouth, because you're gonna get into trouble. When you don't have to hear something, just freaking like get out of there. Don't hear it. Whatever it takes. Or if somebody is not in a good state, you probably have to shut up and listen at that moment. Don't say anything. So you gotta juggle this crazy life like that. You have to be very sharp. You gotta know when to use your ear, your mouth, your intellectual intelligence, and all that. And also, you guys have to remember there's a lot of vibration. There's a vibration, meaning if somebody's happy, the vibration is very different than if somebody's sobbing and crying. The vibration is very, very different. And then there is a movement, like energy movements. You got to feel it. You got to use your feeling. You got to understand that when there is a certain vibration, and then there is a certain tone is being spoken, or sound, you have to feel the movement, and you gotta make sense of it, and you gotta immediately know where to go. And then these are, it takes a while for a human mind to be developing this kind of skills, this kind of understanding, but it takes a lot of education, a lot of reading and listening. And there's a lot of people, they devote their lives towards this kind of information, and they become teachers and they start teaching. And you gotta be open enough, spend time and effort to go and learn all this. So it's your duty and your obligation to come aware of this, and then you have to practice this, because if you don't, you're not going to be so what do you call, I'm not going to say valuable, but you're not going to be so understanding. You're not going to be so people that want to call you and ask you something. You're not going to be that person if you don't. But as soon as you develop these skill sets, you are. And your life is going to be amazing because of these skill sets, and you're going to make other people's life better, because you're going to be able to help these people easily, because you're going to understand their situation, which vibration they are on, or where they messed up, and then it's going to be much easier to explain this. Pretty much, like, I put this here because I tell you guys, like, when I went to the funeral, there was more than one thing happened there. So, like, there were people that they were very, very beautiful, amazing souls, and then there were people that they were so, like, you wanted them to get out of there, to just sit in their car and go home. Like, you don't want to see them there. Their vibrations were very off, and you don't have to be off. You have to know when to open your mouth. You have to know when to listen, when to speak, when to not say, how to say all this shit, man. Like, it was like all you could do is like shake your head and stop and stare at what the hell's going on here, type of deal. But same time, in that same place, there was this beautiful, amazing vibrations. So I guess, like, the crazy and the beautiful exist the same place. Which one you're gonna tap into it? Like, you have to be drawn to something, and then it's up to you to figure out what you want, where you want to be, which side, I guess. And yeah, I mean, it was a crazy experience, but I mean, I wasn't involved in it. I had my own dilemma that I was dealing with, but by watching was not cool at all. It was like, you have to understand, you have to respect enough to let people go through their own struggle and journey, and to have their own breakthroughs. You don't want to disturb that energy, So there was that, and that's why I put this here, because some places you gotta use your your ears. Some places you have to hear. Other places you have to say something. You have to use your voice, and yeah, and then you have to understand movements and vibrations. You can't ignore it. Like, that was crazy what I saw, um, but if you're going through this, understand that this is pretty much how this world is working, and it's your choice to either ignore it, or be what do you call, like, play in that whatever game or something, and you kind of have to make that choice for yourself, and you're not by yourself, unfortunately. There's a lot of this happening everywhere, and I mean, this was the funeral, but also you have to understand, this happens in family situation and life situation, friendship and business, and all these places. This is about the same thing is happening over and over and over, and yeah, and what we call that, insanity. Yeah, very much, it was insanity. And with that, Luis is going to tell us something else, some other. He's coming in from another corner.
Yeah, so I guess it's more along the lines of communication. So learning to listen and being careful about what you say. So it's like between listening and speaking, and feeling the vibrations of movements of other people. So the thing about communication is that, I mean, I personally, growing up, communication was very difficult for me because it's just not something that came very natural to me, just because of the way I think, the way I operate in the world. I'm more of a analytical, logical person. So communicating with other people isn't something that I'm necessarily incentivized to do. It's not something that naturally just comes to me to want to go and talk to people and, like, just start like sharing stories and all this stuff. Like, that's just not something that I'm necessarily motivated to do naturally. So but later, in life, I learned that communication is actually something that you have to learn, and something that unfortunately you just cannot ignore and just get by, especially if you have passions and goals and things that you want to pursue that require for you to communicate. So
That was a good one.
so when I was faced with that, then I mean, I really had no other option but to go and actually learn this. So the way I learned communication was more of a strategic, more actually had to go read books, take courses, and so it was more of a calibrated type of communication, the one that I learned. And so we get to right now, and so definitely that's what I focus on more. So when it comes to like learning to when to speak, when to listen, I think it really depends on what the goal of the communication really is. And so that's something that I learned, and that's kind of what I do now. Like, most of my communications always have a goal in mind. Like, is it a transfer of information? Maybe I'm trying to get something from the other person, some sort of approval, or
Deal making.
yeah, you're doing like some sort of transaction, something like that. Or maybe you're trying to understand the other person. You want to let the other person vent, so then the goal is for the other person to vent. So in that case, I'm going to be more of a listening type deal here, or maybe the other person wants to learn something. So in that case, I'm going to be talking more. So I'll be more informative. I'll use more of practical language, and of course, I got to listen to them to see what kind of where they are. As far as like whatever it is that I'm teaching them, I need to know where they are. That way, I can, transfer that information properly depending on the stage that they're at to it. I'm going to be more charismatic. I might make more pauses. I might make storytelling type of communication, and so on and so forth. And so yeah. So definitely, when it comes to this, obviously, uh, when you're about to say something, always what the quote is. So are the person, maybe the it's going to be a very serious type of communication. Maybe you want to let the other person know that, hey, I don't appreciate what you're doing, or what you're doing here is not exactly good, something like that, right? So you're having a tough conversation there. So, but you have to be honest about it. So there's just no way around that. You kind of have to be tough on the person, and yes, you might make the person a little bit annoyed, angry, but at the same time, you need to have that conversation because you need this person to change their way. Maybe because you guys work together, or it's in the same company. You guys are teammates or something like that. So you need this person to change their way of being. So you need to have that conversation, but at the same time, there has to be some level of empathy as well. So yeah, so there's a lot of dynamics when it comes to communication. Obviously, I can go over them all here, but definitely something to keep in mind. And vibration and movements, I think he explained it pretty well. I personally, like I said, my style of communication is more calibrated, more structured. So sure, I do notice those things once in a while, but at the same time, if I have a goal in mind, I don't really necessarily pay attention too much to those things. I just go get it done, whatever I have to do, and I get out. And I really, uh, I mean, obviously, like if I feel like a bad vibration from somebody, I'm not gonna obviously stick around for very long. Unless I need something from that person, I'm gonna make sure that communication is very quick and effective, and I'm out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make sure I choose the right
So,
words
can
to.
you imagine somebody's holding knife and doing like, I don't know what the hell? You're like, okay, buddy, like, like, can you imagine that? Like,
but,
insane.
but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
Definitely. That's part of communication. You have to pay attention. If somebody's stressed and acting stupid, or stressed and acting like they're the victim,
Yeah.
it's very different vibration, very different words you're gonna use, and
Hmm.
everything, right? With that, um, I was gonna say, when you were explaining, I was imagining, like, because I used to be a soccer player for 20 years, and I played semi-professional. I do remember having different type of team throughout first division, semi-professional, all kinds of teams that I played through. One team that we had that we were dominating that year, because everything you were saying. That's why I remember that, because once the whole team group as a group comes together into an understanding, or it like comes to the, like how they say, come to the same mindset or chapter or whatever they call it, once everybody's intention is on the same line lined up, man, that team was like that, and we would go and kick some ass. Like, we would go and win all the freaking, like, we 3-0 that year. We won this team. Supposedly this team was, for 2 years they were in championship, and they were winning every team there is in California, everywhere. There were German college something, I remember it was, and we kicked their ass 3-0 with this team. I remember spinning in the air like that, and they were so big. These guys were so tall, and but the reason we were able to do that, I mean, we used to go play against some teams where I remember so many different times throughout the season that the other team, I could see tears coming down from their eyes. They were so like they couldn't understand why they couldn't beat us. Today I know why. Exactly what you were explaining. This is why. When everybody becomes in harmony, nothing can beat you, man. Like you become so powerful, so strong. The the vibration becomes so powerful. The intentions become so powerful. The strongest team, the strongest company can't even beat you. You will beat them at that moment as long as you are tapped into that field. Because when you lose the faith, doubt comes in, you are going to go back exactly where you were before. You're going to start losing again. So you cannot go back there. Once you understand this, you always have to push yourself to those levels, to those, try to, you cannot do by yourself. There was no way because of me that team was winning. It was because of the 12 member was playing on the field for 1.5 hour simultaneously. We were playing harmoniously against the other team, and we were breaking their everything, their belief system, their intention, their strategy, their playing, how they played. Life works like this too. That was my biggest lesson there, and I understand that this is how it works. And then I always recreate this. I always come back another year, another season, another time, another day. I try to recreate this. And then when you were explaining this, this is what I was hearing. I was going through my emotions of like all this stuff that I've been through.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will help you guys. Like this was really good. And the next question is, again, it's part of this, exactly what I explained. Listen to this one. What have your mom and dad taught you and programmed you? What are you going to do beyond that? We all get programmed. We all get uh, lessons, life lessons, when we were little kids from our mom and dad, and they love us for sure, but they're gonna do as bad as they know how to. You know, that's why um, I'm gonna say this, but I hope you guys understand what I'm saying, because rich family kids, most likely they're gonna end up being rich. Poor family kids, most likely they're gonna end up being poor because of the grown up, because of the programming, because of what is the other word I was gonna use? It's because of the process. That was the word I was gonna use. Process. So we all go through process when we're growing up, when we're doing something, and then when we grow up, we start losing faith. We start losing. Doubt becomes on us. No, it's not me. I don't know how to do this. I don't know. I don't know. And then you just, I don't know. Meaning that's the barrier right there. That's the wall for you. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You just fucking know. Just go fucking do it. Go through it. What are you gonna? You scared of failure? The fuck? Like, just do it. Understand how you're gonna become the winner, and you're gonna do it. So you have to have another breakthrough, or all every time you should have a breakthrough, because breakdowns are amazing, so good. Use it to have breakthroughs. Don't get stuck. At one point I used to get stuck in those breakdowns, and I used to like blame my father. Can you imagine that? Blaming my father. What does he have to do with me? Like, he gave me life, he gave me whatever he knew, and that's it. Like no one's coming. I gotta go and perform and do it. And he has the same brains, eyes, ears, nose, everything that I have, and then he did it. Now I did it for my son, and then he needs to go out there and do it for him. And then pretty much life continues like that. But you have to understand that there is a situation where your mom and dad gives you what they know. Don't take it literally, like don't be stuck there. Don't be like, this is it, this is what I know. That person is different. I'm not as strong as that person. Bullshit. Like everybody has their own struggle, their own breakthroughs, and you can do it too. What are you going to do beyond that? Beyond that is like, once you come into, what is the word, mind of Ryan reason, right? Reasoning, like when you grow up.
Yeah.
Is that the word? Yeah. Once you get there, you're on your own, buddy. Like you gotta do it. Like no one's coming, no one's gonna do it for you. You have to read books. You have to learn about money. You have to change your mindset. You have to go back to school or go to learn a skill set and become skillful person. By the way, you guys can read the book. We're gonna leave the link down below, right?
Yeah.
This 10 steps of skill mastery book, and that Louis wrote, and it was my life story, and you guys can read that. You have to understand it's a process. Life is a process. If you do it right, you're gonna get there. If you do it wrong, you're gonna get there too. So it's up to you. You make this decision.
Yeah. So as far as my mom and dad teaching me stuff, wasn't very good stuff. I mean, pretty much everything had to unwire, and I'm still unwiring most of like the deepest things. Obviously, I won't go into detail about that, but yeah,
We can make another
it
podcast
was.
for that.
Yeah, but I mean, they did what they thought was right, and that's pretty much it about
They
that.
gave you life, man.
And
They changed your diaper.
so, but definitely, I mean, beyond that, I mean, definitely comes a point where you just gotta take responsibility for your own life and really assess the situation and see what you like with everything. You got to see what you can control and what you can't. You can't really control what happened in the past. What's done, it's done. But you can always learn from what you went through and try to extract anything that's of value and move forward with that. And of course, work to really find yourself and really discover who you are as a person, because that's really the most important thing you can do at the beginning of your journey, is really identify who you are as a person, what your values are, what you want your belief system to be, what you want your standards to be, or the boundaries that you put for yourself, and stuff like that. Because those things come first, and then after that you can start developing things like your purpose and the things that you want to strive for. Obviously, sometimes depending on your situation, you may this may be something that you can do, fairly quick, maybe in a year, or maybe you need to stretch that out depending on how much ability and how much free time you have to really go out there and really explore and find yourself. Um, there's a lot of factors that can contribute to whether you do it at a fast pace or not so fast. But definitely, I think finding yourself and discovering who you are as a person, finding your passions and the things that really motivate you and that really make you feel congruent to who you are, is very important. And then from there, you start building on. And once you find something that is really meaningful to you, that really gives you a sense of purpose, commit and really go all the way and really push yourself to become the best at that specific thing, whatever thing that you choose to pursue. And this journey isn't necessarily easy, since yes, you will be going through those things. You can study, you can do things like that, but obviously, you can't control things like you can control your environment to a certain degree at some point, but maybe at the beginning you can't necessarily do that just yet. Maybe you need to go and work somewhere that you don't necessarily enjoy, but you need to make some sort of money so that you can move forward and do what you got to do. And so there will be people who will be telling you to don't do this, don't do that, that's crazy, that's not who you are, um, that's way out of range, or like you're making a mistake here,
Conformity.
you're making the wrong call right there, I think you should go with this instead, you should do this, you should do that. And there's a lot of shits flying in and out. And so definitely you got to work on finding what you want to do and really fighting for that, and sticking with it, and figuring out ways to really stay committed and not let the outside influence really affect whatever you've chosen to pursue ultimately with your life.
Oh yeah, we all go through a lot, and you guys heard Louise, and I'm sure you guys are going through a lot of different stuff because of your growing up belief system that it was inserted in you without your consent. And but if you are old enough, it's up to you to change it or get stuck and blame the other people. There's no time for blaming. Life is very short. 70, 80 years will come very, very quickly. And it's only 70, 80 winters and summers. And you gotta go. You gotta go, man. Like, no one's no one's gonna come do it for you. So you guys heard the examples from me and Louise, and you gotta do it. Good luck. Next one. This is obviously we're going down the line explaining this kind of emotion, this kind of mindset and thoughts, and we're going to explain this because this is as well is part of it. If you think you're right and rest of the world is wrong, are you going to send the rest of the world to psychiatrists? Can you ask yourself, what is this about? So we can be free. You're not going to be free, man. Like, you can send the rest of the world to psychiatrists. That's crazy. Unfortunately, I do remember a while back and long time ago, I used to talk to people that they thought they were right. That's the rest of the world and the family and the friends and everybody was wrong, and they were so angry about it. That's like, those people don't exist in my life anymore, and I don't allow them to come pass through that kind of barrier. And but there are a lot of them out there. Um, if you're struggling with this kind of mindset, listen, listen carefully. Use your ears right this second. Don't talk to yourself. And I just want you to understand that you're not going to be able to send the rest of the world to psychiatrists. If you want to go one that I've never been to, but I have friends that they go to see psychiatrists because they're having hard time having breakthroughs. They're stuck in being the victim or being their situation problems that they're stuck into. Uh, there are a lot of people out there that you pay them a little bit of money and they'll help you to have the breakthrough because that's their job. That's what they're good at. If you are not having trouble, you should probably go and meet someone and have someone. Um, so if you are good in working on yourself, then I would say start reading a lot of book and start learning about this, and then start educating yourself about this, and start forgiving you yourself. Start from there. Forgive yourself. Forgive a lot of people probably, or a person probably, or something, someone, even though they don't want to accept your forgiveness. It doesn't fucking matter. You matter. You have to forgive and move on and become the better version of you. And then eventually, years later, hopefully, or months later, years later, or whatever, those people will see that you are different and they want to come become part of your life, or never. It doesn't matter. But um, we always want to become better version anyways. So that's a good place to start with. You're not going to be able to send people, everybody in the world, to psychiatrists. That's crazy to think. It's ludicrous. Think like that. But if you want to free yourself, you start from the forgiveness, and then you start from there, and you go through, have your breakthrough, fix yourself, become amazing person, and pretty much become free from the struggle, from the shackles, from all these thoughts that stuck in your head. And whatever you want to accomplish from then on, it's for you to go get it. um, and please understand, most likely you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. You need people. You need amazing people and you got to learn how to bring these amazing people and work with them, deal with them, and make shit happen. And so you can have amazing life. And yes, when the day comes, we'll say bye bye and we're out. But until that day, you just you just do, and you live beautiful life. And we just and people, friends, and colleagues, and all kinds of people want to learn from each other. Most likely, you'll write a book, and we want to read that book and learn from you how amazing your life was, how you turned it around and made something beautiful. And we all want to learn about those kind of people. So, yep, pretty much free yourself.
Yeah. So you think you're right and the rest of the world is wrong, you're gonna send them out to the psychiatrist. Well, I think it depends. First of all, I think definitely with everything, with any opinion, any thought that you might have, you always want to get to the truth of it. So you always want to be certain for sure that you're right, and you want to be right, like with facts, with actual data, to back up whatever opinion you have. You want it to be an actual fact. And so, in order to do that, sometimes you do have to share your ideas with somebody else, and share them even with the people who oppose your idea, and have a little bit of a back and forth. Something that's obviously a healthy back and forth, to really get to the truth of what is right and what is not. And so I think when it comes to that, definitely it's something that you should consider, and not be stubborn to whatever your ideas are, but always be open minded to explore the other side and see if potentially the other side might be right as well, or what does the other side have to offer that can contribute to the ultimate truth of what your opinion is, whether your view of whatever the thing is. However, there are times where you need to be solid, focus. You do want to be you want to communicate that you're right and that you have absolutely no doubt about whatever it is that you're saying, that you're doing. And in those cases, you actually don't want to be doubting yourself and questioning yourself if what you're doing is right or not. It can be like in moments of like leadership moments where you have to or things of like performance. You want to be right, and you have to believe that you're right. And in that case, I think it's more it's more of a confidence type of approach, when you're like, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I believe to be right. And everybody can go see the psychiatrist, man, if they believe that I'm wrong. But I'm staying with and sticking with what I believe to be right. I'm gonna do it all the way, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. And so, I think from that perspective, that you're very confident in what you believe in, and you're gonna go and take action uh, with 100% commitment and devotion and trust in whatever your belief is. Those moments are very necessary as well. When you're committed to something and you want to make it happen, you want to communicate that to everybody else, that you're not changing your mind, you're not doubting yourself, you're confident, and you're going at it. Yeah.
I love it. You explain it so differently from another point of view. We definitely talked about different kind of personalities, and there's many different ways of explaining this. Um, that's great that we both have different point of views, and pretty much you guys heard it two different ways. This could go. End of the day, you have to ask yourself what's going on. Am I doing the right thing? Everybody else is thinking that I'm not capable, or am I thinking that I can do it and everybody else is right? you know, and you got to figure out. That's another day,
Yeah.
another podcast. The last question: develop your mindset on going to default. Maybe which I should say not going to default. You know, but no matter however this thing goes, which way, pretty much you guys have to understand that we have the default. We are conditioned from birth, from growing up, and we all always go back to the default. You have to be careful to create new defaults because you have to look at the mirror. You have to see yourself. If you're a runner, you have to see yourself. You're a runner. If you are, I'm a jeweler. I look at the mirror. I see myself. I'm a jeweler. I don't hate myself being a jeweler. If you don't like, you have to. End of the day, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. You have to know who you are, what you're capable of, how far you're gonna push yourself, what are you gonna do. Develop yourself. Don't go to the default and start with the doubt and fear and being like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't know. That's unfortunately, a lot of us when we're growing up, especially the average families, that's the default rule. Uh, what is how they say it? Like, uh, you're not a billionaire's kid. You can't do that, or something like that. Crazy shit that we grew up hearing. That's not cool. That's not fair for a kid to hear that shit. You have to nurture that. The wish, the dream. I'm gonna grow up to be this person. And then that's like telling someone you can't be that person, and that gets embedded in your brain when you're 3 years old and you don't even remember that ever happened to you, and then that becomes your default. Every time you do something bigger, you remember that you're not that person. You can't do it. Like you can't, but you don't even know why. But you just end up sabotaging yourself or doing something stupid and not continuing, not breaking, having breakthroughs, whatever else is happening. So everything we talked in the beginning, if you're listening and hearing all this last 57 minutes, you are you. You can become anything you want. There's no barriers. If you don't have the tools, go read books, form your tools, and then go kick ass, and you can become someone amazing. And this is what life is about for me. So you can do it, man.
Yeah. So default. Default is definitely a word that I've encountered thousands of times, and that's because default, is widely used in like technology and obviously a lot of just in technology in general. Like games and software where you can always go back to the default, right? So uh, obviously the default is really like the safe zone, and I think in life that's pretty much the same thing. You go to the default, that's
That's a
really
good one.
like your safe zone. That's the comfort zone. That's when things are pretty much
Harmony.
yeah, it's pretty much where you pretty much know what's going on. uh Pretty much when it comes to like software and games, when you go to like the default settings or something like that, that's really like the safe settings. That's like something that's guaranteed to work. It might not be the best obviously, but it's gonna look okay. And so when it comes to your life as well, you go back to your default. Your life's gonna be okay most likely, but it's not gonna be great. It's not gonna be anything amazing and everything. If you want that to happen, obviously you have to go in there and start making changes, just like you do with software and with games as well. And so if you want to advance in the game, you have to do things that are outside of the default. uh you know uh Stepping out of the defaults in like software, like video software. You want to do some, you want to make a very cool video, you're gonna have to step out of the defaults and start doing some crazy stuff. And yeah, sometimes it can get a little crazy, to the point where you just don't know what you're doing. And obviously with life is pretty much the same thing. You can start making changes in your life, and then you kind of start getting a little lost, because you're not in your comfort, in your default. You're just not there, right? So you're going into uncomfortable territory. You don't know what's going on for a little bit, and so you're trying to figure it out. But eventually, you do figure it out, and now you're in a whole different place. It's a whole new default there. whole new amazing place, better than the previous one. And so you just continue doing that. And I think that's a very good way to approach developing your mindset. You're always changing, always growing, always tweaking here and there until you have a meaningful life, really, a life that you're proud of living and that you feel happy with, and that at the same time that it's meaningful, and you have a purpose, and that you're going really hardcore using pretty much everything you've got to make that purpose a reality. And so, yeah,
Yes, get out of your comfort zone. And with that, developing mindset podcast, it's gonna come to an end. But we will be here next week again, Saturday, as usual. We will be doing this because we are determined. We are we wanna do this, and we wanna create this channel bigger as ever, and we're not giving up. So you shouldn't give up either. You should keep on continuing, keep on working on yourself, keep on developing yourself, better version. And until then, we are going to see you next week. And thank you for watching, being here, and as usual, stay good and stay and do it good and do it the best. And until then,
yeah, yeah. So, thank you very much, everybody, for watching yet another episode. As always, we hope that you've learned a lot from this and that you were able to extract a lot of good tips, knowledge that you can use for yourself. And yeah, so there's going to be links down below to our social medias, links to our book, The 10 Stages to Skill Mastery. You can go ahead and download that book, or you can check out the audiobook version as well, which we have down there as well here on YouTube. And yeah, other than that, thank you very much for watching.
thank you guys. Appreciate it.